Welcome to another scriptural study. In this scriptural study, we will be exploring the question that was received and given to us from the MessiYAH YaHUsHua himself, as we can read in the book of Yahuchannon, now known today as John, in chapter 11, verse 9, which the MessiYAH YaHUsHua stated, "Are there not 12 hours in the day?" So in this scriptural study, we will also provide etymological information, along with historical, archaeological, and astronomical witnesses, as always, with the sun, moon, and stars. When we go through this study, it will be imperative that we remember the prophet Yeshayahu, or Isaiah, as known today, in chapter 1, verse 18, where our Father of Light states, and I quote, "Come now and let us reason together, says Yahuwah." This will be very important in this particular study, because we are going to prove the 12 hours in a day question. As we go through this scriptural study, and as always, please ensure you stop the video at any time to ensure that you can focus on the scriptural, word, historical, archaeological, and astronomical information being shared. And please ensure that your mobile device, iPad, or computer screen is on full view or full screen mode. This particular study we cover in great detail in our workshops. So at the end of this video, if you are interested in attending and participating, please reach out to us at our email address at family1@rogers.com. So here is the verse in question from the book of Yahuchannon, now known today as John, in chapter 11, verse 9. And I quote, "Yahushua answered, 'Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles, because the light is not in him.'" Regrettably, when I first read this scriptural information from the Renewed Covenant, I read it from a human reasoning standpoint. I had yet not understood the proposed scriptural study format. And many questions that I had about the scriptures, I did not approach Yahuwah in regards to trusting in him with all of my heart, all of my mind, and all of my being. I did not come together with Yahuwah to answer what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua is presenting, let alone what the Old Covenant was presenting as related to the celestial clock and calendar of Yahuwah. I approach this question very much like many do, from a human reasoning only standpoint. And as such, these three questions always come up as it relates to John chapter 11, verse 9. And here they are. Number one, how could the Messiah say this? Because isn't it true there were no wall clocks and or wristwatches back then showing a 12-hour measurement of time? Again, human reasoning, right? Number two, the Messiah was wrong. There is no such thing as an empirical equal 12-hour day of sunlight from sunrise to sunset. So this one is a little bit more information-based. People that do some research in this world find out that there is no such thing as an equinox. Equa meaning equal, and nox meaning night. There's no such thing as an equal time period of nighttime, let alone an equal period of time in the day. There's no such thing, and this is why we did videos entitled The Equinox Deception. So there's that form of human reasoning. And finally, question 3, again from a human reasoning only standpoint. How could the Messiah say this during the winter, as there is not 12 hours of daylight starting from sunrise during winter months? Now, is there? So human reasoning will question what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua stated. And boy, oh boy, do we get these questions during the winter time period. And they always happen during this time of year, where the doubters, the naysayers come out and say, John chapter 11, verse 9, the Messiah is wrong. So how do we prove what the Messiah was saying? Well, regrettably, there are three other things that human reasoning produce. They get up in the morning, humans, and we're all guilty of this at some time in our journey in this life. I'm 61 years of age, and if I'm completely honest, I have done this. I don't do it anymore, but at times when I was younger, I woke up in the morning with a jest and disprove approach rather than coming to the scriptures with a test and prove approach. I woke up sometimes doubting what the scriptures was stating in my early years. I no longer do that. Number two, we all have experienced at times in our lives a Laodicean mindset where we sit on the fence. We're lazy. We don't do the full research. And we're all guilty of this at one time or another. I no longer experience this. It is a battle. And I'll explain why in the scriptural study video, why this is a battle for all of us. But now, thanks to the scriptural proposed format, I do not experience a Laodicean mindset anymore. And then number three, as we go through this study, we have all been attacked at some time or another in our lives due to the traditions of men. Yes, that control system from the beast, which has an agenda when it comes to time. Because, as we can read in Marcus chapter 7, verses 7 through 8, and I quote, "And in vain do they worship me, teaching as teachings the commands of men. Forsaking the command of the Almighty Father of lights, you hold fast the tradition of men," to the traditions of world religions. So when we go through John chapter 11, verse 9, these three things have affected us all, if we are humble enough and honest enough to admit it. I control this through the fruit of the Spirit much better than I ever have here at 61 years of age. So this is an excellent study in regards to proving when a day starts from a scriptural standpoint, let alone an astronomical standpoint. And again, this subject matter comes up during the winter months, during the pagan month of December especially, into this pagan month that we're in now, which aligns with the 9th scriptural month into the 10th month, which is soon upon us. So, I get this question because many people do not see Jerusalem in the winter months. And as we know, for those that do research these things out, yes, Jerusalem, even though it's in the Middle East, experiences a winter month. Yes, it snows in Jerusalem. And many are shocked to find out that the MessiYAH YaHUsHua made this comment in the winter months. And how do we know this? Because he was making a point about what the true 12 hours in a day is all about. And he made this point in the winter months because in the previous chapter, chapter 10 of the very same book of Yahuchannon in verse 22, and I quote, "At that time the Hanukkah came to be in Jerusalem, and it was winter." So these comments from the MessiYAH YaHUsHua himself, are there not 12 hours in the day, was presented and articulated in, we believe, the 9th month. Why do we believe this? Well, this year, Hanukkah 2021 began in the evening of Sunday, November 28th, this pagan time period, and ended in the evening of Monday, December 6th. Again, on this YouTube channel, we do not believe for one moment that Hanukkah is a scriptural feast day as it relates to Moshe's writings. because Moshe didn't mention it in regards to the feasts. Hanukkah 2022 is in the pagan time period of December 18th to December 26th. And if you do your research, you'll find out that Hanukkah is definitely, like Christmas, part of the Festival of Lights celebration. Yes, that pagan tradition of man, that control system, if you will, as it relates to the agenda of world religions, ensuring that you don't follow what the Father of Lights provides, but you follow something to do with the various world religious Festival of Lights. So if you're interested in this subject matter even further, this scriptural study video presents that in greater detail. So again, it is very easily proven that the MessiYAH YaHUsHua made the question and comment, are there not 12 hours in the day? And he made that comment in the 9th month. And we'll get into this a little bit further, because can you test and prove this actual fact here and now? Well, we can, can't we? So let's just go to the timeanddate.com in 2021 in the pagan month of December during the Hanukkah time period. And what do we find? Well, take any time period from December 1st all the way to December 31st, and you can get the sunrise time and you can get the sunset time for each and every day in that pagan month of 31 days. Notice something. There is not a 12-hour day in the month of December or the 9th month, let alone even the 10th month of the true scriptural calendar. Notice it's approximately, here we are in December 1st, and it's 10 hours, 13 minutes. And as you go through the rest of the month, it dwindles down to a low of 10 hours and 4 minutes, as you can see here. You'll see somewhat the same in the month of January that I'm doing this presentation here in my home. So at the end of the day, this is why some people with human reasoning only say there's no such thing as a 12-hour day. Why can the Messiah say this? Why is he saying this? And the answer is very simple, astronomically anyways, because the scriptural day starts at the dawn. And as you can see here in December 1st, the dawn in Jerusalem was at 4:55 a.m., and then all the way to the 31st around 5:11. So why am I saying a 12-hour day from a scriptural standpoint starts from the dawn? Because civil twilight, or the end of it, is 5:01 p.m. So take a look. From 4:55 a.m. to 5:01 p.m., that's 12 hours. And a few more minutes, right? That's December 1st. If you go to where the day was 10 hours and 4 minutes, and you start from the scriptural dawn true day start of 5:06 a.m., here we are at 5:05, 12 hours. Go to the 31st, the last day of that month, and the day started at from a scriptural true start of the dawn. It started at 5:11 a.m. and there's 5:12, this end of the civil twilight, 12 hours. This is what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua was talking about, a true scriptural 12-hour day, and he was explaining how this worked in that winter month. Again, even on any normal month, and even on the day of the winter solstice, there is not an equal 12 hours of daylight and then 12 hours of nighttime. That's a lie. That's human tradition. That's what is taught in high schools and universities and colleges, regrettably. But again, a true scriptural day start is at the dawn. And when the MessiYAH YaHUsHua, in the book of John, chapter 11, verse 9, he was talking about this. A 12-hour day at that time period was right to the time period. This is what we can test and prove in any year. So we just showed that proof empirically from an astronomical standpoint. There was 12 hours walk in that light. And as we know, at the dawn, we get all three witnesses with the sun, moon, and stars. Yes, the very first page of Scripture in Bereshith, chapter 1, verses 14 through 16, The sun, moon, and stars are for days, years, and so forth. And as we can see the sun, moon, and stars. If we start our day at sunrise, we can't do that. So, and no one would argue that the morning time period does not start after sunrise. The morning time period starts from the dawn. And we'll get into that a little bit further. And as we all know, at sunset, there's still daylight. We still see light, and this is called civil twilight. So even today you can test and prove that, just like we just did. And this is why the MessiYAH YaHUsHua stated that there are 12 hours. Walk in this light. And he made that comment in the winter months, which we can improve here and now empirically. So again, in the fourth watch, starting at the dawn, the true start of a scriptural day, first light, this is how this works. Because why? The heavens are proclaiming the esteem of all, the Almighty Father of lights, and the expanse is declaring the work of his hand. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. We on this YouTube channel don't focus on just one portion of a human wristwatch and tell people just to focus at the 9 o'clock time period or the 3 o'clock time period. With our children, when we raised them, we taught them the whole face of the wristwatch or wall clock with all three witnesses of light. We approach the celestial clock and calendar of Yahuwah in the very same manner. We don't take away and or add to this beautiful counterclockwise timing piece. People don't do it with the human wristwatch or wall clock that goes clockwise. Why would you do it with the Almighty Father of lights, Yahuwah himself? And the taught ones followed what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua stated, because after the MessiYAH YaHUsHua was murdered on the stake, they came to the tomb at the end of the 16th day. Again, a day ends at the end of the third watch. A day begins at the start, at dawn, at first light, and we got confirmation of this from his taught ones, as we can read in the book of MessiYAH chapter 28, verse 1, and I quote, "Now after the Sabbath," which Sabbath? The first fruits Sabbath on the 16th day of the month of Abib, the first month of a scriptural calendar. After the Sabbath, which ends, a day ends at the end of the third watch, a new day starts at the fourth watch. This was the 17th day. So the first day of the third week, which was the 16th day of the first month of Abib, they wait till after the Sabbath, which includes this nighttime period. So they had a Sabbath all during the day, and through the watches, the night period, they waited to come to the tomb. Toward dawn on the first day of the week. It was still the first day of the week, the 16th day, and they're coming to the tomb before first light. And Miriam from Magdala and the other Miriam came to see the tomb. So that witness does indeed corroborate Yahuchannon, or the book of John, chapter 11, verse 9. We get a secondary witness from the emissary or apostle Lucas in chapter 24, verse 1. "And on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they came to the tomb," right here. And again, in Bereshith, or chapter 1, verses 14 through 16, the sun, moon, and stars. You could only see all three witnesses during this time period. And thus you know what day you're in, what season you're in, and so forth. A third witness comes to us from the book of Yahuchannon again, or John chapter 20, verse 1. "And on the first day of the week, Miriam from Magdala came early to the tomb while it was still dark." Right here, just before the dawn. And as you know, dawn lights up the whole plain. You see that dawn shine brightly. And the cool thing is, you can see that moon on a new moon day, still high in the sky, a light on a lampstand. And you can see the stars, the specific stars in any given month for a new moon day, that, as we read from the psalmist in chapter 136, verse 9, that the moon rules with for a particular month. And so, again, all three witnesses intact. chapter 11 of John, verse 9, intact, 12 hours. And why don't you walk in it? So it's very basic. Even a child could follow it. But again, you have to research. You can't approach any of this with a human reasoning standpoint only. You really have to do your homework. You have to listen. You have to ensure that your ears are listening in full, that your eyes are wide open. You can't approach this from a human reasoning standpoint. So again, we can test and prove this in any year, just like the MessiYAH YaHUsHua asked, are there not 12 hours in the day? And no one argues that a morning time period is not part of the day. We all know this. So again, here we have actual words from our only teacher, the MessiYAH YaHUsHua, coming to us in a winter month, which we can test and prove here and now today. We go into this in greater detail in these two scriptural study videos that we have just done, entitled Enoch's New Moon versus Babylon's New Moon, and a true scriptural day length with Ursa Major that we can read of in the books of Eob, chapter 38, or the book of Job, verses 31-32, if you're interested. Again, you can't approach the celestial clock and calendar of Yahuwah with a human reasoning approach only, which comes with 3 styles or methods. You can't jest and disprove Scripture. You can't approach it that way. You have to test and prove what it actually says. You can't be lazy and just take the word of humankind with human reasoning. You got to get off your butt, get off the fence, so to speak, and really look into this. So again, there's something else from a Laodicean mindset, let alone a jest and disprove mindset, where people are very much doubters and naysayers. That's the jest and disprove mindset. And if you're sitting on the fence, many folks do not read the Old Covenant. But again, in the book of John or Yahuchannon, chapter 5, verse 47, and I quote, and this is the MessiYAH YaHUsHua speaking in regards to this quote, but if you do not believe his writings, which means Moshe's writings, how shall you believe my words? Well, what does this have to do with the book of Yahuchannon, chapter 11, verse 9, when the MessiYAH YaHUsHua asked that famous question, are there not 12 hours in the day? What does this have to do with Moshe's writings? And if you don't believe Moshe's writings, how does this prove you're not going to believe that the MessiYAH YaHUsHua was speaking in a winter month and he was truly attempting to divulge a true scriptural day start? Well, go to Moshe's writings. Go to the very first chapter, and it comes to us in the first verses, specifically in verse 5. And we can read, and I quote, and there came to be morning the first day. Morning is from the Strong's entry, Hebrew entry, 1242. Let's go find out what that is. Morning, break of day, end of the night period, of coming of daylight. It's not sunrise, because sunrise is later. Of coming of sunrise later on. It's the beginning of a day, if you get into the Brown Driver Briggs. The NAS Exhaustive Concordance states dawn, dawn, daybreak, every morning, morning, soon, tomorrow morning. Further, we get in the Brown Driver Briggs with a little bit more clarity of understanding what it was saying, of coming of daylight. Remember, sunrise announces the first hour. It's not the morning, it's the first hour. The morning is before sunrise. Of coming of sunrise. Break of day. If you get into the same word in the theological word book of the Old Testament, it's morning, it's dawn on page 125. Linked with the root bakar 200 times in Scripture, denoting the breaking through of the daylight and thus dawn. Again, this is not rocket science. If you get into the original Picto-Paleo Hebraic language, and as we can read from the Jeff Benner Ancient Hebrew Research Center, you'll start to see that even in the Paleo-Hebrew, the breaking of daylight. Moro, early. And if you look at the Resh, first, top, beginning, you start to understand why at the horizon, the light goes right across that horizon. And again, you have all three witnesses on a new moon day. The moon is ruling high in the Shemayim, a light on a lampstand, and it's ruling with the stars. And you have the sun, all three witnesses. And that's a tent peg. It's sound, it's solid, it's holding the house up, and it provides us a floor plan on how to live, so to speak. So again, that's Genesis 1:5. Well, a secondary witness comes to us in chapter 19 of Bereshith, or Genesis verse 15. And let's get into that. And when morning dawned. Again, dawn. It's an adverb, at dawn. Again, for this translation of Shakar, 7837 entry. Again, dawn, dawning of the day, daybreak, which is morning. Again, after sunrise, it announces the first hour. It's not morning. And you can see other scriptural verses that are related to this. And there are tons of them. This, again, is basic. It's kindergarten etymology that the world and its world traditions, its agenda, ignores. Again, world religions like the Roman Catholic Church frown on this day start. They will give you a midnight day start, which is non-scriptural. And as you know, the Babylonians had a sunrise start with their man-made non-scriptural sundials. The Egyptians, obelisks. We are supposed to tear them down, so to speak, those phallic symbols. It's non-scriptural. So again, dawn, a masculine noun, generally denoting the breaking of the day, the time just prior to sunrise. Again, this is not rocket science. It's kindergarten stuff. And so the children of light give thanks to the Father as a result, who has made us fit to share in the inheritance of the set-apart ones in the light. We walk in the full light in those 12 hours as the MessiYAH YaHUsHua was sharing. And again, if you wait to sunrise, the stars are gone. And the moon is so low on the horizon, another Babylonian practice, as we all know today, based on the archaeological record, let alone historical record, and it ignores the Babylon method, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house to see. Again, the Babylonian methods ignored all of this, just like it ignores the etymology. So again, the taught ones, just like chapter 11, verse 9, believed in the MessiYAH YaHUsHua, the only teacher, and as such why they came to the tomb at first light, at the dawn, the true scriptural start of a day, just like the book of Yahuchannon mentions as well, while it's still dark. But again, all three witnesses, even though there is still some darkness left, all three witnesses are there to tell time. True time, scriptural time, just as the etymology backs it up. So again, if you don't believe Moshe's writings, you're not going to believe what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua said and when he said it. You're going to ignore all of this. And regrettably, that is a form of human reasoning that has produced so much confusion and chaos to this very day. So again, battle the doubting. Do not wake up in the morning with a jest and disprove approach. Wake up in the morning to test and prove what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua said, let alone what Moshe said, as all the prophets had stated in the scriptures. Don't be lazy. Do your homework. Research it out. Don't trust humankind and the traditions of men. They have an agenda. If you're set apart, you do not have an agenda. Now, you could be blamed for having an agenda of testing and proving what Moshe said. You could be guilty of testing and proving what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua stated, like we just did. But if I'm going to be guilty for anything in this life, hallelujah, it will be for that I can test and prove here and now why the MessiYAH YaHUsHua presented the question, are there not 12 hours in a day? So bring it on. I do not mind being held accountable for testing and proving what Moshe stated, let alone testing and proving what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua stated. And besides, we all know that the Babylonian system divides the day into 24 equally long hours, beginning at sunrise and ending with the following sunrise. Again, scripturally, it's not true, but you can actually prove this from an astronomical and empirical standpoint. There is no equal 12-hour period of nighttime, and there's no equal period of daylight starting from sunrise. It doesn't work. It's not true. It's a lie. And all of these calendar systems have sucked this up due to the mother of all clubs and movements, which is today the second Babylon, or the beast. She who is in Babel, as Kepha would have stated in 1 Kepha chapter 5, verse 13. So we don't struggle with flesh and blood, meaning other people. Again, they can test and prove this for themselves. There's no need to strive or struggle with flesh and blood. We take the fight to the world religions, to those systems that are following the beast. Yes, Rome, that state or office which has the authority of a prince, that self-proclaims the position or responsibility of a principal, as a teacher, as of a school, the territory of Rome or jurisdiction of this prince, called the Pope, which is non-scriptural. The country, Italy, that gives title to this prince in Rome, it's non-scriptural. You do not need to follow a Nimrod. There is no need. Again, the world wants to bat away the sun, moon, and stars, and what Moshe said about them, let alone what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua stated, that we can empirically, from an astronomical standpoint, test and prove here today, in any year, for a 9th month, scriptural 9th month, let alone even the 10th month, which we can even prove from a pagan standpoint in the pagan month of December and January, so forth. So again, we know what the prophet Ezekiel said in chapter 29, verse 19. And I quote, "Therefore thus said the Master Yahuwah, the Father of lights. See, I'm giving the land of Egypt," which was known as Mitzrayim way back when, "to Nebuchadnezzar." That's the son of Nimrod, sovereign or king of Babel. Babel meaning the land of confusion and chaos. So this system today, with a sunrise day start, is still alive and well, regrettably. And they, or we, based on a social environment of the human race today all over the world, we don't use sundials, but we certainly look at the world from a sunrise standpoint. And again, the historical and archaeological record is clear on how this was done. So again, we have the complete armor of Elohim. We have a proposed scriptural study format that can test and prove all these things out. And as such, we can stand against the schemes of the devil. Because we do not have to wrestle against flesh and blood, people that do follow a Nimrod. We take the battle to the beast against the principalities and against the authorities. And that battle, we take this knowledge of the celestial clock and calendar of Yahuwah with all 3 witnesses of light and put it to bed. It's a non-contest. It's easy to disprove this system each day, day in and day out. Thanks to the MessiYAH YaHUsHua from the writings of Yahuchannon in chapter 11, verse 9. So we take it against the authorities, against the world rulers of the darkness of this age, against the spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. And besides, are we done with the error? Yes, this lie that the word equinox, equal nights, there's no such thing empirically or astronomically. And furthermore, it's based on this view of the solar system. It's based on this view of the universe, which is incorrect. It is based, as the psalmist stated, "Also keep your servant back from presumptuous ones, and do not let them rule over me." This is presumption. All of it, it's presumption. It cannot be proven empirically and or astronomically. And the error or the lie came from, and I always have trouble saying this guy's name, Eratosthenes when he incorrectly calculated the circumference of the earth. So at the noon on the summer solstice. So think about this for a moment, because the curvature of the earth, this formula from way back when, does not work. Anyone can test and prove it. I can see in my geographical area, if I'm on the beach at St. Catharines, which is approximately 26 miles away from the beach in Toronto, I'm not supposed to see the beach or the docks at Toronto based on this formula, but I can. So I don't get into the vicious cycle of debates on the shape of the earth. All I want to know, as a empirical, scriptural style of approach, what's the formula? Because this one is wrong. It's an error. It's a lie. So that's how I approach all of this. I want to test and prove. I don't jest and disprove. I'm not lazy. I'm asking people not to be lazy. Get off your butt. Show me the real formula, if indeed there is one, because this one is an error. And I bought it. I bought it tooth and nail way back when, until I learned that scripturally in the book of Eob, or Job, chapter 38, verses 31 through 32, I'll read 32, and I quote, "Do you bring out the constellations in its season, or do you lead the bear Ursa Major with its sons being the star known today as Spica, anciently known as Abib, and the other star known as Arcturus, today known anciently as Ash." That's a clock. It's a seasonal clock. It's an hourly clock, as we spoke about in so many scriptural study videos. But this man-made error, man-made system, which is, easily disproven just with the math, as we just shared with so many examples, including this one from Scripture, because a true scriptural day is 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds per day. Even astronomers, such as Neil deGrasse Tyson, know this. They approach it from this standpoint, which is incorrect, but scripturally we can test and prove this every day, because we can watch the movement, counterclockwise movement, of this star cluster, which was built for hours throughout a daytime period and the 4 watches. And it tells us which season we're in. If you follow this system, this is why many folks in the world today that are even full moon believers get the day wrong occasionally. And, regrettably even worse, are on the wrong month. And we'll get into this a little bit more as the study goes on. But again, it's just world religions. It's the agenda. It's the control system, the traditions of men that lean towards this, and as a result, produce chaos and error. I speak about this in greater detail in other videos, but I found something very interesting. So again, there's no such thing as a 24-hour day. So there's no such thing as a 12-hour daylight time period and then 12 hours of night. Again, it's all baloney. It's pie in the sky. It's not real. But world religions are powerful. And if you have a mindset of jest and disprove, or you're lazy and you don't follow up, or you're caught up in the agenda still of the traditions of men, then you'll fall for these types of things. And I did. I'm guilty of it myself. But hallelujah, coming out of the Laodicean mindset, 2 or 3 witnesses to establish a matter. And you test it out here and now. And I don't find any irony in the actual empirical and biological fact that when you add or take away, it's known as intercalation. And most people are shocked to find out that the term gain of function, that's research with DNA sequencing. Yes, the strands of life, so to speak, that bind us together as a human being, is known in biochemistry as intercalation, which is the insertion of molecules between the planar bases of deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. This process is used as a method for analyzing DNA, and it is also the basis of certain kinds of poisoning. I apologize if I did not pronounce this properly. But again, intercalation induces structural distortions. On the left side of this visual is an unchanged DNA strand. On the right side of this visual is a DNA strand intercalated. at 3 locations in these black areas. Now, what does this have to do with the celestial clock and calendar of Yahuwah? Well, we don't add or take away from the face of Yahuwah's clock or a man-made clock. We don't add or take away anything, but look what they do. And welcome to gain of function. And if you know what I'm talking about, this should be an eye-opener for you. Do not add or take away from the MessiYAH YaHUsHua, or what he said in John chapter 11, verse 9. Understand what Yahuchannon was stating. Again, I'm not a teacher. I've learned the hard way. And we did a video on this because I made mistakes. I had some of these human reasoning defects in my being. And we did an apology video or admission of error video on some of this information. And here is the actual picture from the beaches of St. Catharines all the way to the beaches of Toronto. Again, human reasoning added to the celestial clock and calendar of Yahuwah and to Scripture, and it distorts everything. So again, this is a lie. The Babylonian system divides the day into 24 equally long hours. There's no such thing. Again, beginning at sunrise and ending with the following sunrise. This is a lie. And waiting for any of the entities towards the horizon to tell time. There are some great witnesses there, but we'll get into why they're not as successful as some other of the witnesses of light. So again, we don't have to follow a Nimrod. We don't have to allow people to take over our lives, to control us. We don't have to be ruled over by presumptuous ones. We don't have to be. You can be free. The truth can set you free, because in Jacob or James chapter 1 verse 17, and I quote, "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no change nor shadow of turning." Remember, Yahuwah with the sun, moon, and stars does not measure shadows and darkness like a Nimrod would. An obelisk, Stonehenge, or a sundial is opposite to what Yahuwah does in regards to timekeeping. And this is why we state, think bigger as it relates to the prophet Yeshayahu. For my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. And I believe I have that incorrect. I think that should be chapter 55, verse 8 and 9. Okay, so again, this is hard. This is why we need the fruit of the Spirit of love, peace, joy, kindness, patience, all the way up to self-control. This journey in life to overcome exists in not having doubt. Never jest and disprove the Scriptures. Get up, get it done, test and prove it. Don't be lazy. It takes effort. Love is a verb. It's an action. It's physical. It's not a thought. Again, you got to get up and get it done. And you have to battle the beast with its agenda, its control system, with its traditions that, regrettably, the world holds fast to. So you can overcome this. We have success in it. Many people do. And as Bereans who fellowship together with the proposed scriptural study format, we trust now the writings of Moshe because we can prove them empirically and astronomically, archaeologically, and with the historical record, over and above the etymology. And I can test and prove, just like any of you can, watching this YouTube video, why there are 12 hours in the day in a winter month, starting at the dawn, all the way to the end of civil twilight. Just as the taught ones did. They came to the tomb right here, and this is the morning. We walk in the light. This is the light of all three witnesses that you can see, telling you which day you're on, which month you're on, which season you're on, thanks to the sun, moon, and stars that are for days and years. And then we know when morning is, we know when sunrise, we know the first hour, and we can get all the way to the first watch, which we still can walk in the day up until the end of the civil twilight, and then the stars come out, and then we can, again with Ursa Major, as it says in Job chapter 38, let alone in the verses before that with Pleiades and Orion, we can know the season and we can tell time by hour in that manner as well. Again, as it states from the psalmist in chapter 119, verse 129, talking to the Father of lights. Your witnesses are wonders, so my being observes them. Again, don't let anyone rob you of anything on this counterclockwise full clock. You don't do it to your own children. You don't tell them just to look at the second hand or the minute or the hour hand, or to just focus on a portion of the face of a human clock. So why do it with Yahuwah and his timing piece, our Father of lights? It's not needed, and thus why in the book of Yahuchannon it explains a true scriptural day start. Again, on the first day of the week, Miriam from Magdala came early to the tomb while it was still dark. The dawn, first light. Pretty basic. But again, I'm sure even with the etymology, people are going to just and disprove. Doubters, naysayers, they don't get up with the mindset to test and prove what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua said or what Moshe said. They get up to just and disprove. It's an opposite approach. So again, you can take this, again, this is December, the pagan month December of the pagan year 2021 that just passed. And it's, again, if you start your day scripturally at the dawn and it ends at the civil twilight with all of the three witnesses of light, you get 12 hours. If you do it any other way, it doesn't work. It's just an empirical fact. I can't change that. And if you use all of the witnesses of light, including Moshe, including what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua said, chapter 11, verse 9, let alone the historical and archaeological records, you won't stumble. But there will be massive stumbling coming up upon the first day of the 10th month. And now is a great opportunity to explain all of this discernment and why people will stumble. Even knowing this, they're going to deny this, what was just shared, and as a result, we can test and prove, or prove here and now, why some will struggle with the first day of the 10th month, which is soon upon us. So once again, a big thank you to all of those Bereans out there for your constant fellowship, because Bereans are concerned for one another in order to stir up love and good works. We are so pleased to have the privilege of working out the forecasts in advance for each and every given month, and then for the works of going outside in creation and filming and photographing the sun, moon, and stars. And not just for new moon days, but every day. There is much more evidence coming in than in the past. So we thank you for not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the habit of the world, but encouraging each other, and so much more as we see the day coming near. And as you can see, the pagan day of Tuesday, January 18th, 2022 will be the first day of the 10th month. We know this because of all of that work and assembling together. And notice once again, out of the 8 witnesses of light that we monitor, once again, the moon greeting the sun at sunset, as good as the witness is, there are 2 locations out of these 11 countries that it won't. And notice the moon greeting the sun at sunrise. Again, as good as this witness is, it doesn't work for everyone every month. There are some months that it does, but this particular month it won't. And these locations will not. So we're going to explain that now in great detail, why some will stumble, and determine the incorrect first day of the 10th month, let alone why some people will state that we're going to the 11th month, which is bizarre at best. But let's get into that. Okay, here we are on the forecast for the first day of the 10th month. And as always, we do every day, but for the visual of these 11 countries, we can fit in only the day before New Moon Day itself, and the day after New Moon Day. And for my area, the 30th day of the 9th month will be the pagan day of Monday, January 17th. It's not New Moon Day because the moon has not waxed to 100% illumination. The moon only becomes full at 12:59 p.m. on that day. The moon stops being full after 11 hours and 3 minutes and stops being full at 12:02 a.m. on the first day of the 10th month, which is the pagan day of Tuesday, January 2022 in my area. So again, all of the witnesses of light are intact, but take a look. The moon greets the sun the day before New Moon Day and is only 1 0.18 degrees above the horizon. But it's not new moon day for me on the 17th. This is not the only witness. We use the other witnesses. And if I did choose this, I'm not a full moon believer because the moon did not go full on the 17th at the dawn or even sunrise. It became full in the mid-afternoon time period. And if you look at timeanddate.com, it uses the middle point or the midpoint, which would be later in the day of the 17th pagan day of Monday, January 2022. So it is the highest in the sky, the Shamayim, when the moon is waxing to 100%. And then after that, it starts to wane. And as we can see, this witness is excellent. It's telling me it's new moon day. The moon will greet the sun at the dawn at 24 degrees above and at 7 degrees at the sunrise. Really good. And again, in the same location as it does everywhere on Earth, in the 53 degree mark to true north at the moonrise and at the moonset 303 to the west. And it does greet the sun the night before new moon day at 3.17 degrees above the horizon for my area. If I go to Jerusalem, take a look at this. The moon becomes full on the pagan day of Monday, January 17th, later in the day at 7:59 p.m. Isn't that cool? So January 17th for Jerusalem is not new moon day, of course. It stops being full at 11 hours, 3 minutes, just like my area, at 7:02 a.m. So it does greet the sun at the dawn at 100% illuminated and the sunrise. And as you can see, it's above at sunrise at 4.95. And again, during the period of full illumination, waxing and then waning, the highest in the Shamayim, just like in my area, and in the same degree mark at moonrise and moonset. And it does greet the sun the night before new moon day at sunset at 5.34 degrees. So definitely new moon day for my area and Jerusalem. Going into Perth, Australia, take a look at this. So it goes full, not on the 17th, but at 1:59 a.m. on the pagan day of January 18th, 2022, and stops being full at 1:02 p.m. on that same day, new moon day. And it greets the sun at the dawn at 100% illuminated. And take a look at this. It doesn't greet the sun at the dawn, at the sunrise, because it's minus 2.11, but it's still new moon day, as it's highest in the Shamayim for those 2 days during its waxing to 100% and then waning. And the moonrise and moonset, same as my area, and it will greet the sun at the sunset the night before new moon day by 1.31 degrees. So definitely new moon day. And again, as good as the moon greeting the sun at sunrise witness is, it doesn't work for everyone everywhere. And no, this doesn't mean it's new moon day the next day there, because it's way beyond the 100% illuminated. It's now in its waning, as we can see on the pagan day of Wednesday, January 19th. So new moon day, even in Australia, is on the pagan day of Tuesday, January 18th. Go to Anaheim, California. The moon goes full at 9:59 a.m. on the pagan day, the day before new moon day, after the dawn and sunrise time period. So it's not new moon day on Monday the 17th. Same amount of time, and as we can see, it goes full, and then it goes into its waning period. It does greet the sun at the dawn at 25 degrees above and at the sunrise. But look, the day before it's at 0.74, but again, it's not full. So you're not a full moon believer if you say the day is Monday, January 17th. It's not a full moon yet. The moon doesn't go full till 9:59. And if you go to timeanddate.com, it provides the midpoint, which will be later on in the day. Finishes being full at 9:02 p.m. So even in Anaheim, it's not new moon day on the pagan day of Monday, January 17th. It's Tuesday. Same scenario with moonrise and moonset, same location as everywhere else. And it will greet the sun at sunset, being 1.51. It could be tough if you have inclement weather or any high hills or buildings and the rest of it. And that's why horizontal witnesses are a lot tougher. They're good, but they don't work always, as we can see here. Let's go to Hawaii. So in Hawaii, the moon goes full at 7:59 a.m., well after the dawn and sunrise time period on the pagan day of Monday, January 17th. So again, it's not new moon day on the Monday. It's new moon day on the 18th, and as we can see, the moon will greet the sun at dawn and sunrise and on the pagan day, 0.40, but very negligible, as you can see. But it will be the highest in the Shamayim the night before New Moon Day and New Moon Day itself, while it's doing that process of full illumination. And again, same location in that 10-degree range limitation, as we've shared in many other scriptural study videos for moonrise, moonset. And it won't greet the sun at sunset. It'll be minus 0.56 degrees below. We get into Dallas, Texas, and as you can see, the moon goes full at 11:59 a.m. Timeanddate.com will show a later time period because it provides the middle time period. The moon will be stop being fully illuminated at 11:02 p.m., so it's definitely not Monday, January 17th. Again, same scenario as Anaheim. It will be at 0.11 that day, but it's not going to be a full moon. And if you got any problems with inclement weather or buildings, tree lines, and the rest of it, it's negligible. But again, the moon will be 11 hours, 3 minutes. And this is why the same witness with the height, it'll be the highest in that phase time period of the moon. And again, moonrise and moonset witness brings us on the same page. And it will greet the sun at sunset the night before New Moon Day at 1.83 degrees above the horizon. Something very interesting to note. If you go to the sunrise time period for the 17th, pagan day of Monday, the 17th of January, it shows 0. So again, be very careful with programs, understand what they do. And it's showing 0.11 on Mooncalc, but on Stellarium it shows 0 degrees. Very interesting to note. But some people will pick the 17th still. They'll forego all of the other witnesses. They'll forego chapter 11, verse 9 of Yahuchannon or John. They'll forego everything, and as a result, they're stuck to the tradition of the Babylonian sunrise day start, and they may choose the 17th. Hopefully they don't. But again, we don't strive or struggle against the flesh. They'll come to this. The restoration of all things of the MessiYAH YaHUsHua will take place, and all of this will come back to light. Pardon the pun. Let's go to Rio. Rio's moon goes full on the pagan day of Monday, January 17th, yes, the 30th day of the 9th month, at 3:59 p.m. in the afternoon. Stops being full the following day at 3:02 a.m. on the pagan day of Tuesday, January 18th. Again, 11 hours, 3 minutes. Notice this. The moon's, again, highest percent illumination at the dawn and sunrise on New Moon Day, but it doesn't greet the sun at sunrise. Doesn't do it. It's a great witness, but again, it doesn't do it for everyone on every month. And again, the witness of the height in the Shamayim comes through, as it does everywhere on earth. That light on a lampstand witness that we can read of in Matith-Yahu. Again, the moonrise and moonset witnesses is totally intact with the other locations, and it will greet the sun the night before New Moon Day at sunset, being 9:09 degrees above the horizon. Let's go to Cape Town, South Africa. The moon becomes full on the pagan day of Monday, January 17th, and that's the 30th day of the 9th month there as well. And that's after the dawn and sunrise. So this is definitely not New Moon Day. And if you go to timeanddate.com, it gives the midpoint. So this will be later on in the day, proving that Cape Town will not be the New Moon Day on Monday, January 17th. It will, in fact, greet the sun at dawn and sunrise on the pagan day of Tuesday, January 18th, at dawn at 100% and at sunrise. The height, again, remains the same as the other locations during that waxing and waning phase of 100% illumination. The moonrise and moonset, same location. And the sunset time, it will not greet the sun at sunset. It'll be minus 0.77 at the sunset time period, the night before Moon Day. Okay, Berlin, Germany. Okay, so right now, on the 30th day of the 9th month, which is the pagan day of Monday, January 17th, the moon goes full at 6:59 p.m. in the afternoon, and then stops being full the following day on the pagan day of Tuesday, January 18th, the first day of the 10th month, there as well. It does greet the sun, the highest illumination at the dawn and the sunrise, and notice the day before it shows And again, this is not the end-all, do-all witness. We know that Monday, January 17th, in Bonn, Germany, is not the first day of the 10th month. The moon is not full yet. The moon only goes full at 6:59 p.m. And if you go to timeanddate.com, it'll give a later time because that's the midpoint. That's what timeanddate.com provides. Again, the height, same as the rest of the world, during that waxing to 100% waning phase, the highest the night before and new moon day during a full moon event. And there is an anomaly with mooncalc.org that we're researching with the webmasters on this. There's a question, so I'll comment on that on a later video as we're still learning. And it will greet the sun the night before new moon day at sunset at 5.66 degrees. If we go to Mumbai, India, the moon does indeed become full at 11:29 p.m. on the 30th day of the 9th month, which is the pagan day of Monday, January 17th. And finishes being 100% full at 10:32 a.m. on the first day of the 10th month, which is the pagan day of January 18th. Total 11 hours, 3 minutes, same there too. It greets the sun at the dawn at 100% fully illuminated at 19 degrees above the horizon. 100% illuminated at the sunrise, the moon will be 3.32 degrees above. And again, the height, the same, that witness, the same, bringing us all together as one. Along with the moonrise and moonset witnesses, same scenario, and it will greet the sun at sunset the night before new moon day at 5.53 degrees above the horizon. And finally, Nairobi, Africa, hello to all the Bereans over there and your constant encouragement. On the pagan day of Monday, January 17th, the moon doesn't become full until 8:59 p.m., so definitely Monday, January 17th, there as well is not new moon day. The moon stops being full at 8:02 a.m. on the pagan day of Tuesday, January 18th. Yes, the first day of the 10th month. The moon is 100% illuminated, greeting the sun at the dawn at 18 degrees. Yes, high in the Shamayim, that light on a lampstand, and at sunrise at 100 degrees. And again at the dawn, you can see the set of stars that are designed by our Creator for a 10th month, ruling. The moon's ruling with those stars, which only happens on a 10th month. The height witness, again, fully intact like it is everywhere on Earth. The moonrise and moonset, fully intact like it is everywhere on Earth. And this location, the moon does greet the sun at sunset the night before new moon day at 2.79 degrees. So again, we do this every month, and then we go outside and test and prove it like we do every other day. Again, we just don't wait for new moon days for this. But this exercise with fellow Bereans and that fellowship has just been wonderful. So again, this worksheet, along with the other visuals, will be in the description box. Please feel free to critique it. If I have done any key entry errors, please correct me, as on this YouTube channel, we love correction. So as we can see, this is where that summary comes from. Again, all of these visuals and the Excel worksheet will be placed in the description box. We cover all of this in greater detail. In fact, what we've gone through in this scriptural study video are the basics. There is much more to the celestial clock and calendar of Yahuwah. If interested, please reach out to us at family1@rogers.com for the next schedule of workshops, which should begin with fellow Bereans further into the mid and latter end of the 10th month. Please remember, it's not what we think we know, it's what we can scripturally prove in creation. We do not like to presume. We do not want to be ruled over presumptuous ones. We just want to follow the evidence. And we want to have the good fight taken to the beast. We do not strive or wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the principalities. We trust in Yahuwah with all of our hearts, and we never attempt to lean on our own understanding. And if that portion does come back, we look for correction immediately. We trust the sun, moon, and stars, those perfect gifts from above, from our Father of lights, which includes the scriptural stars. Yes, those Mazzaroth that are for seasons that we read about in so many places. Again, human reasoning comes with these three non-scriptural approaches. Don't jest and disprove. Trust Yahuwah with all your heart. Get up in the morning and test and prove what the MessiYAH YaHUsHua said, as backed up by the writings of Moshe. Don't be a naysayer. Don't doubt. Don't be tossed around in the waves. Don't have that approach or mindset of human reasoning that regrettably jests and disproves the Scriptures. And as you can see, it takes effort. You can't have a Laodicean mindset and sit on the fence and then hop between the opinions of men with their agendas of control, those traditions. So again, you don't have to do this. We can reason together with Yahuwah. He gives us enough witnesses in creation to do that. Again, when we use all the witnesses of light, like we do on a human wristwatch, we can accurately tell time, and thus why, when we trust the Father of lights, his lights unites. But when we take away or add, intercalate, all hell breaks loose. And as we shared before, you don't have to be a follower of a presumptuous one that wants to rule over you. We just share the evidence. What you do with it is between you and the Father of lights, just like it is for me. I'm not a teacher. I am nothing special. I'm just a Berean, a student that is striving to become further noble as each day passes. Please remember this. With discernment comes division. A person who seeks to be discerning must be willing to suffer the effects of this division. It will divide not only the believer, but it may even divide a discerning believer from one who is undiscerning. Remember, forecasting is a form of discernment, and getting outside and testing and improving that forecast is the complete circle or cycle of not being presumptuous. And it can even separate the mature from the immature, the naive from the prudent, and why it is so important to never be presumptuous with the celestial clock and calendar of Yahuwah. Remember, the MessiYAH YaHUsHua will restore all of these things. We won't. I'm not capable of doing that. I'm just a Berean. I'm a sinner. I'm a wretched man, as the Shaul emissary had stated. I have work to do. And that work is to test and prove why Yahuwah's lights are a light on a lampstand. They're not put under a basket. They're put on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. So again, we allow the Father of lights to teach us to number our days to bring our hearts to wisdom, and not humankind. And this is why we trust why the MessiYAH YaHUsHua stated that there are indeed 12 hours in the day, in the winter months, starting at the dawn all the way to the ending time period of civil twilight. Again, we continue to call upon the name that these scriptural study videos provide value to you and your loved ones. So until next time, Yahuwah willing, may our Father of lights continue to keep and guard you and your loved ones, and may the MessiYAH YaHUsHua be in everything we say and do. All the best, everyone. Have a yawesome day.